I think we're being joined by our guest
Good.
here on the show, on Jim Norton and Sam Roberts. You know him from his program here on Faction Talk every day at 2 p.m. Eastern. It's called The Bennington Show, and it's named that after the man that we're now joined by, Ron Bennington. Welcome, Ron.
Hey, Ronnie.
Good to hear you guys, but I can't see you. Is that all part of the premise?
Not
Yes.
your good fortune. That's your good fortune.
Well, it's great to connect with you guys. How long has it been since we've all seen each other?
I mean,
been quite a months and months and months.
Yeah.
I think March 17th, I think that's what Travis said was the last day that we were in the building. I think it was March 17th.
When was your
Wow,
show,
that-
Ron? Your live show you did at the Hard Rock?
That's Thanksgiving every year. So it's like a little bit before Thanksgiving, but it's Thanksgiving show.
Wow, have I not seen you in person since then?
No. It's crazy.
Maybe once you were on. I thought you were on once with us. Since I could be wrong. It's been a long time.
Nobody would forget doing Boogaloo Radio. I mean, what you guys are doing right now with the Boogaloo thing, it's just unbelievable. It's just taken off.
I mean, do you like doing radio from home? You're a broadcaster. Do you like that we've gotten to a place now where really there's no reason to not do it from home?
I despise it. I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't want to be my own engineer. I got engineers on the phone asking me if I have a welding torch, and I'm like, shut the fuck up. I didn't get it. I'm a guy who hangs out. I don't care about the technology. So I find it to be just horrendous.
You can't wait to get back to the office.
Of course. You guys have celebrities on. What's the difference between having a celebrity come into the studio and sit down or being able to see them on a little box? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's big. It's a huge difference, and the chemistry, the energy between people when you're talking. Skype is definitely not, or this Zoom is not ideal. I'm okay with it in the meantime, but it's not ideal for forever. Sam loves it.
Did you think this would go on like this? I remember when Jim McClure came to me and said, "Oh, we're sending an IP codec to your house, and then Monday you're going to go on from your house." And I'm like, first of all, I didn't even believe in the coronavirus. I was like one of the last deniers, So I'm like, why? Why are we doing that? He goes, well, you'll have it. I'm sending it out to every show. And I remember getting on the elevator thinking, this guy's going to get fired. He has just made a gigantic mistake. And this is July. And we're still doing it.
Yeah, he told us, he goes, we're going to send, because IP codecs are not supposed to be your permanent, you're supposed to use them for 3 days and then put them back in the closet. Like, they're not supposed to be machines that you just use every day to do a show for all eternity. Yeah, you're not, that's why they don't work half the time, because you're not supposed to just use them every day in place of a studio. But he told us, yeah, I remember that day, like after our last show, he was like, okay, so we're going to do the show from home on Monday, just to see if it works, just to test the technology, and then kind of go from there. And we never left again.
Yeah, it's insane. But at least we're able to do this, but it's still insane. It's crazy.
I mean, at least we can hold a show together now, but it really isn't. The good part of it is you just kind of wake up and you're here. Like, there's advantages to it. You just plug in and you're on the show. But it does, overall, I'm a little sick and tired of it. And I'll be happy to get back in studio, but it won't be till at least September.
I remember when Artie Lang started his podcast and he was doing it out of his kitchen, and he'd said he'd still been late for work 5 times. And I laughed my ass off, but it is like weird, It's also weird to be done the show and then you're just sitting in your living room. You know what I mean? There's no transition from show to life. Luckily, I've been out on the streets every day with the Black Lives Matters kids, and had done
I saw you
incredible amount of looting.
Oh yeah, what have you stolen? What's something good you got?
Mainly cargo pants. Wherever I go, you know what I mean? It's summer, and I've got some cargo pants that don't fit. So if you guys want to come in and take a look at it, I'm selling them $2 a piece.
Oh,
beautiful,
wow.
Beautiful cargo pants.
Yeah, I
you
saw that
shrink out
Instagram
of them,
video
Ron?
you guys. I saw that Instagram video you posted, Ron, where you were destroying that car that somebody had parked foolishly.
That wasn't me. That was a looter, I believe, up there. And there's a thing on Instagram right now where they're attacking a statue. It's on the Bennington Instagram in Central Park. And I mean, I don't get all the statue things. This was Balto, who they refer to as racist Poochie. It's a dog that delivered serum, but to no African Americans. So we're tearing it down, I believe, as we speak.
Only whites.
Good.
Delivered only to whites.
Only to whites, which is awful.
Good. Well,
Sam, what's the WWE doing for Black Lives Matter? Are we finally going to have a situation where Coco Beware gets a shot at the title? Where's this going?
No, it's a great question. I do think that I think they're going to honor, the Junkyard Dog,
Right.
your Coco Bewares, your Bobo Brazils, and maybe get some comments from the world's strongest man, Tony Atlas, Mr.
Okay,
USA himself.
perfect.
Yeah, I think Mr. USA would probably, and it's July 4th too, so to have Tony Atlas there and be Mr. USA, I just think it's an appropriate time.
Can I just throw in a little something for Special Delivery Jones? Because no one could keep him in a headlock.
Steve Jones.
His-
God damn
yeah.
it. Yes.
His
That's
head
true.
was so slippery, he was able to get out of any headlock.
That's true. And I tell you, this guy, he lost every match he was ever in, but he never had a bad attitude. He never had a bad attitude about it. Always a smile on the face.
If you guys ever get around to doing a last dance for the WWE, I wouldn't mind it being Special Delivery Jones. I think that would be great.
Just a 10-part doc on Special Delivery Jones. I kind of want to produce that just so it exists.
Yeah. Is he dead or alive?
See, that can get really insulting for a performer who even somebody like me can't tell you with 100%.
You don't know if he's dead or alive?
I can't 100. I want to say dead, but I can't. I'm gonna
Why?
have to
That's
go
not
ahead
nice.
and Google it.
I think
He has been.
Yeah.
He's
Died.
dead. He's dead. He's been dead for
dead.
12 years. Yeah.
and missed.
Missed. Very, very,
but
very.
most of the
badly
time
missed.
with a wrestler, it's best just to say he's dead because that's where the odds fall.
Yeah, especially when you figure out what era did they wrestle in? Oh yeah, I'll say dead.
Yeah,
I'll
he's
say
gone.
he's passed away, unfortunately. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anyone from
I mean-
the 80s or 90s is gone.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Did
about right.
Superfly did die, right?
He passed away. Yeah. He
Yeah.
passed away.
Shame.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I ask. If you're my generation or older, did you grow up with him? And they go, yeah. I go, yeah, he's passed away, unfortunately.
He's gone.
He's dead.
He's gone,
Yeah, he's gone.
unfortunately.
He's gone. Yeah. God rest his soul.
Yeah, God rest his soul. He was great. Gave us a lot of joy for a lot of years, but no, didn't last.
Yeah. Jim had a great question that I stepped on a moment ago about the cargo pants. He wanted to know if you sized out of them, if they were too big for you, as slim as you've been looking lately.
You look
Well,
great.
first of all, I've already contacted HR about you, Sam. It's disgusting what you're doing.
Ron, you need to learn how to take a compliment, sweetie, okay? You need to learn
All right,
how to
sweetie,
take a compliment.
is that how we're referring to me now, sweetie? I don't know. Jim,
you
to
look good.
If somebody,
You look good.
if somebody wrote under your picture, I'd love to finger his butthole. That doesn't seem like a compliment to me, Boogaloo.
I don't know. We may look at compliments differently. I don't know if that would upset me or if I would take that in stride. I think that I
Okay.
would take that one in stride, especially after
Okay.
such an amazing weight loss. All of a sudden, somebody looks at you and goes, I wouldn't mind fingering his butthole. That's actually really nice. I mean, that's why we do it, Ron.
See, this is all new to me. This is, you know what I mean? I'm going through what Carney Wilson did years before, where you don't know what it's like. Jenny Hutt had to go the same direction.
You mean
when
Jenny Hutt, the host of the Butt Hut?
she's calling herself the Hut Slut from the Butt Hut, and
So much edge. So much edge.
hey, this is what are we? We're in shock jock era. of radio. You know what I mean? You've got to be shocking to get people to pay attention to you.
The hot slut from the butt hut. Yeah, I think it sounds interesting to me.
Right.
But yeah, so you're just kind of you're adapting to skinny, sexy person life.
I don't even see it that way. I feel like I've aged that. It's nice that you're calling me a snack, and that's caught on to a place that it makes me nervous. But there's a sexuality that comes along with shyness and nerves, you know? I'm kind of consent, non-consent. You know what I mean? Like, we'll play the game that it's non-consent. You know, I'll be like, stop. But, you know, role play.
But you want it.
Right.
Sure, I want it. I'm Catholic. We have to say no.
But you know that your photos are jarring. People who haven't seen you in a long time, like they see you, like you look great, and it looks like a different person. I mean, that's got to be good to go out and buy shirts you want to buy, and the clothing options open up. Yeah,
especially now that all the stores are closed. So that's very, very exciting for me. But I could just say it's the miracle of meth. A lot of people put down meth, you know, but everybody in Florida can't be wrong. You know, it's a great way to lose weight. Yeah.
And it feels good, too. The thing is, it's fun. It's like, what's the fun way to lose weight?
Sure.
Methamphetamine. Yeah.
Stay up all night. You get a lot of vacuuming done. You're hearing noises you never heard before. So you're sneaking around the house all the time. Who is it? I have a butcher knife. I'm just jabbing into the darkness.
Now, do you like the new lifestyle that I'm assuming you have to? I mean, the idea that now you're exercising and now you're probably eating differently and stuff like that, especially for a guy who's always appreciated food as much as you know, do you like this version, or is it miserable?
Sam, I didn't know this was going to be such a hard-hitting interview.
Thank you.
You know, you're normally known for softball questions, but here we are, okay? And I'm just a couple of gals talking about calories. That's an exciting...
Well, we're
that's Shock Jock Radio. That's Shock Jock Radio is what you're doing right now.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You know, you're right. I'm getting my nails done. I'm really starting to... I joined a thing out on Long Island, which it's kind of a sex orgy, but you wear masks. It's only for, you know, people with money, and it's exciting and it's fun, and you just don't even know who you had sex with.
Oh, that's
an eyes wide shut thing.
Thank you. That's what it is. I haven't seen that, but I read the Wikipedia and I understand it's unbelievable. Eyes wide shut.
Yeah. Now, do you have to wear...
Go ahead. I stepped in.
Do you have to wear COVID masks while you're wearing your sex masks, or do they, do they test you before you go in, or is that bullshit anyway?
Look, let's face it. There's no such. The mask doesn't help. As a matter of fact, it hurts. It gives COVID, is what it does, and I found that out. You know, I know what you're going to say. Hey, QAnon, guilty. That's where I get my information.
Well, it's smart, and that's, I think that being at home and being stuck, in your house all day, it's just nice to have the internet and to have those resources like QAnon where you could get that kind of information at a moment's notice.
Have you guys been to Midtown since all this shit started?
I went,
not often,
once, but not really. No,
it's spooky, isn't it, man? It's spooky.
There's
quiet. Nobody in Midtown.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long time before people are back too, man. I think it's one of those things where nobody wants to load 10,000 people into a building.
That's the problem, right? Our elevators. You know how many people I get on an elevator with every day? We'd all be dead by the time we got to the ground floor. Everybody would just, the doors would open and just people would be lying dead. And I know there's not going to be a cure. I'm just going to say it here on your show.
Ever?
It's a international show.
Yeah.
There is no cure. It's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder.
So you don't think that there's some big vaccine around the corner? You think this is going to go on for a long time?
No. Look, we haven't even cured AIDS. We haven't cured the cold. What the fuck have we ever cured? Polio? When did that happen? 58? That was the last time we pulled off a decent cure. This is a very lazy... the one thing that I could say is my generation turned out to be the worst generation in the history of this country. Just a bunch of fucking lazy greed heads. But we did see Zeppelin. So we had a lot of fun for a while.
But you don't even think like a vaccine, or even like a flu shot type of thing where you can inject antibodies maybe?
All right. Have you ever had a flu shot? You
Every
still
year.
get the flu. Every year.
Yeah.
I like, how am I getting the flu? And the doctor will go, what's a different kind of flu? I'll go, okay, great. Great. They're not going to be able to do anything about this. We're going to be wearing masks for the rest of our lives.
Do you think we'll ever be back at Sirius? Or do you think this is what radio in New York looks like now? This is big market #1 radio.
This is it. This is as good as it gets right here.
You don't think
Good
that
as
they'll
it
ever
gets.
have us back in that building?
No. Why would they? Now that they figured out they don't need 3 floors in Midtown, they got to be going like this. Let's sell all these floors.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They might.
Sell
They gotta
all
be
these
kicking the-
floors.
They just built that big
Third floor. They just built it.
staircase, and they built it 6 months ago. They gotta be kicking themselves. That was a
Looks
waste
like-
of everyone's time and money.
It looks like VH1 in like 1996 when you walk into the downstairs. That's what it reminds me of. The old
Right.
1515, the MTV building.
It's a rom-com. It's like a girl would work there in a rom-com, and her job would be getting coffee, but she has ideas, you know? She has ideas for shows.
And she's been leaving notes with the boss, but the boss
Right.
thinks it's his male coworker who takes the credit, and then you realize it's her.
This is why you're at the top, Jimmy. This is why you get it. You can take an elevator pitch and turn it into gold.
Turn it into a real film, a film that we can all enjoy and learn from. I think that's the more important part.
That's
We
the
can
important
learn from
part.
it. The gender roles that we've been taught are wrong.
Right. They're all wrong. That's why I'm glad to be woke. You know, then I go back to sleep a little bit. I wake up a little more. I mean, the snooze alarm is on, but I'm learning as we're
Right.
going along. Like I'm getting rid of all my Confederate flags. I'm like, you know what? Now that I think about it, this is crazy.
Yeah, that's good that you finally got there. I mean, that's really great because I know your apartment used to be, lined in them.
Well, that's because I'm a big Leonard Skinner fan, and they always had him up, you know?
Right.
And that whole Sweet Home Alabama, Freebird, don't get me started on how great those shows, Sam. You missed all of them because you were going to wrestling.
Yeah,
But Leonard Skinner taught me about race relations at a very, very young age.
sure. He loves Curtis Lowe. I mean, come
That's
on.
right. I was a nice black man. And then Charlie Daniels, South gonna do it again. I'm like, what? Did you even do it a first time? Come on,
Yeah.
Charlie, think
Get your
before you
dicks
write
kicked
these songs.
You lost, Charlie. You
Yeah,
lost.
got a beating. Vicky LaMotta is going to do it again.
Man, that was an easy thing to run a batch to, right? Vicky LaMotta.
Oh my God, Playboy,
Yeah. She was unbelievable in that movie.
dude. Do you remember her in Playboy when she was 60? When I was a kid, like 1980, I think Vicky LaMotta, the real Vicky, was in Playboy when
Yeah.
she might have been 60 years old, and she was fucking stunning.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, this
the real
is this is
Vicky.
why Jake LaMotta couldn't sleep at night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's just constantly, every time she went out to get a fucking Slurpee, he was pretty sure she was getting fucking doggy banged. You know what I mean? Like he couldn't relax for a second.
She was so sexy. His son was killed in that fucking what was it? The Swiss air crash. Remember that crash that happened? Yeah, I think Jake's
Yeah.
son was on that plane.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
Did you guys ever have Jake on the show?
yeah. We interviewed
Fucking
Jake.
is hilarious, man. He's just hilarious. He's still bobbing his head like the whole time you're talking to him. He feels like he has to look out for a punch here and there.
Oh,
Didn't he
Ronnie,
have
she
that
was
one
50
line?
She was 51. Sorry, she was 51 in 1981
51.
when she was in Playboy. Yeah, sorry.
Didn't he have that one line that he just kept repeating the whole time? Jim, when
Sugar
LaMotta was
Ray,
on.
so much Sugar Ray. It was Fort Sugar Ray, and got so many times I got diabetes. Yeah, he said it like
He said it
three
like-
or four times.
Yeah. He just said it every 5 minutes or so.
Fought Sugar Ray so many times I got diabetes. You know, it's the stand-up comic in him.
Right. Yeah, he was really, really good. He was playing Dangerfields that weekend.
Well,
The end of that show, the end of that movie where he's doing what I would consider the Voss set, it is one of the most cringiest moments that you could ever have.
By the way, Google Vicky LaMotta at 51. Holy fuck. You do understand why Jake went so crazy. Like when you see her at 51, those big heavy breasts, she was stunning at 51.
Yeah, but when did he hook up with her? She was like underage, right? She was
15 because I remember in the movie, because you're 15 when you take out a Copacabana. 15, I think.
15, and you could take a woman to a nightclub. I'm saying woman. We've learned now. No, that's wrong.
That's right. She was a girl.
That's right.
Yeah. We've all moved on.
So, as far as stand-up goes, Ron, I feel like you were on this hot streak. You were the young stand-up, finally getting on stage. You know, you had started this career. Things were happening. You were on tour. You were in big auditoriums. And now you got to go back to sitting at home. Like, is the not being on stage to do stand-up, is that part driving you crazy too?
You know, first of all, again, it's a great question. And to get it from an insider like you, because playing big auditoriums, that's what everybody always says. Hey, your agent will call you. There's a big auditorium show coming. You're going to be playing the big auditorium.
Yeah, right. Ray Sharkey. Ray Sharkey from the Idolmaker calls you. You're opening for Cesare.
that tour, the Creeps tour, we did the casino, right? We were like the last show at the casino because Bobby was not believing it, right? Bobby was just saying, shut up. None of the shows will get canceled. And then they kept coming in one at a time on his phone. Like, fuck, Atlanta canceled. Motherfucker, Tampa can't. Like, he thought the world was insane. He goes, well, at least we still have shit, you know? So, yeah, I mean, it was disappointing, but at least I got to do that tour. Now, here's the thing that I wanted to bring up to you, Sam. Everyone on that tour I was with, Florentine, Voss, Kelly, all of them at one time or another told me who their best friend was. And they said Jim Norton. Here's 3 people who believe Jim Norton is their best friend. And Jim, I was wondering, why don't you rank those 3 in terms of friendship? Who's
Florentine,
number 1?
Bobby, and it's hard. I mean, I don't love any of them. So I would have to say that they all rank below a number of other people. I would say neither of them are in the top 10. Maybe Florentine, because he did get me my first paid gig in 1990. So Jim, I would have to say, would be number 1 because I've known Jim the longest. Voss was aware of my penchant for penises before anybody in the business, so I would have to rank Voss second, and I would say Bobby is a distant third. But I would even say it's not even a good third. I would say there's probably 5 or 7 people in between Voss and Bobby, and there's a lot of people in between Voss and Florentine.
I can't wait to make these calls because
yeah. Please.
But
now I will say this: Florentine is the only one who's easy to get along with. You know what I mean? Florentine, to be on the road with him, a fucking joy. He doesn't care about anything. You know, nothing bothers him.
Yeah, whatever, it's fine.
Everything bothers Voss, and Bobby is only bothered by Voss. So those 2 would be in constant screaming matches that would make me leave the big auditorium backstage and stand in the car park and smoke. They were unbelievable with each other.
Well, yeah, because Bobby has a very short fuse. And he's just, are you fucking stupid? Like, that's a Bob Kelly line. Right. Are you out of your fucking tree? That's a Bob Kelly line. Bob is by far the biggest hothead on that tour.
Oh, yeah, he can't help it. I mean,
No, he
he's
can't.
yeah, he's just one moment away from being a school shooter at any
Yeah.
time. But
Thank God he's too stupid to recognize a school. That's the only good thing.
but anytime Voss would open his mouth, and that's a lot, Bobby would be enraged and they would be screaming at each other. And Florentine, just gentle, sweet, just sitting there thinking about AC/DC. You know what I mean? Nothing bothers him at all.
But you don't like that energy, Ron? You don't like those? You don't like being around guys like, screaming at each other and being vicious to each other?
It's childish. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm just like, why not you two fuck? That's what is at the center of this whole thing. You don't know. Who cares who's wearing what shirt? It doesn't fucking matter. Stop making fun of each other's shoes. Calm down. Sit quietly. Go out and do your set in front of the big auditorium. It's a lovely, wonderful, easy, fun night. And then leave. That's it.
Yeah.
Big auditorium. You guys are doing big auditoriums. Yep.
The big auditorium tour. And are you planning on getting back to stand-up, Jimmy? Are you
Sure.
they call you? Yeah.
No one's. I mean, I've got gigs lined up, but I just did Florida right before I did Tampa, and I wouldn't go out and do it right now anyway, just because it's too up and down. I think my first gigs back are, as of right now, Foxwoods and the Wilbur in Boston. I'm rescheduling like Chicago, Detroit, probably for March of next year, because the winter is too tough to go, and I don't want to have to keep rescheduling them. So I'm putting them, and I know it'll be safe.
The Wilbur's unbelievable, isn't it? That was one of my favorite experiences. The whole thing was just phenomenal.
An amazing gig, yeah. The Old Connection was great too. Were you ever at the Old Comedy Connection? It was like a black box. It was just a perfect comedy club. But yeah, Blumenreich, because Boston's such a great market too. That's an amazing room, the Wilbur Theater.
Could you go into any of the New York, basement type things, no ventilation, and do a set now, or would that make you nervous?
I think I probably could, and it would make me nervous. Like, it would be hard to say no if the Cellar was actively doing sets, but I would wait a little while. I could wait a month or two until you see how the other comedians are faring. Like, everyone's sharing the same mic. Like, how are they going to everyone going to have their own mic cover to put on? I don't know how they're going to handle that. So, I might be a little leery at first, but I'll do it eventually. I mean, I really miss it.
When the Cellar shut down is when I was like, oh, this thing is serious. Like, I could not imagine with the amount of crowds that went into that place every single night, the amount of shows that they were doing. When they said, oh, we're, closing our doors, I'm like, oh, I guess this thing is real after all.
Yeah, when they last time they shut down, there was a snowstorm. They shut down for a couple of days. It was just impassable a few years ago, and then 9/11, they were closed for a little while because the whole below 14th Street was closed. But I can't remember any times for any reason where they're closed. They just never shut down.
Yeah, Sam, that place was like Disney World. Like, there was just lines at different spots, and everything was just running from like 6 o'clock at night to 2 a.m, just packed with people. People would get off the plane and go to that place. It was crazy crowds.
The Cellar.
They were doing there. Yeah, the Cellar. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I used to do when I came back I would tour with Dice in like 98, 99. And when I came off the plane, we would fly home from Vegas on a Sunday, and I would land at 9 at night, and then I would go to the Cellar that night, and I would always be half asleep because I would have flown that morning. So I would be on no sleep. And I always enjoyed those late night Sunday sets after a Dice gig in Vegas because I would be on no sleep. So I would just kind of creatively just do whatever I wanted. There was no pressure. It was late. And, right after I got off the plane, I would go to the Cellar. It was a great, I don't even know what to say about it. It was just great.
Yeah. Now all gone. Everything's
For
gone
now.
in New York. There's no reason to be in New York.
None. I can't believe people are starting to come back. And I'm like, it's still no reason to come back. Like, I mean, it's going to be a while before New York is active again, just because everybody's still on top of each other.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't understand. Like, a lot of people were getting shit for leaving New York at the beginning of this, but I didn't understand why anybody would have stayed.
Well, because they were spreading the virus. That was the problem. They took it to Long Island and Jersey And, you're supposed to quarantine yourself, stay in. It's the only thing. Like, if everybody would have done what they said from the beginning, they said we'd be far further along. But people are, selfish. That's the weird thing about it. But go to the Upper East Side at night. It's fucking all those big buildings from probably like Lexington Avenue on to the park are completely dark. All these really expensive. And I'm looking at a place on Park Avenue now. It's $450 a month, and it's 11 bedrooms. So
oh wow,
there's an upside. Everybody's trying to dump out now.
Yeah, is real estate a little different in New York now financially? I guess it is, right?
Nobody's done anything yet. Nobody's made any moves. August, they said, is when we're going to find out how much the economy craters, and that's going to be fairly frightening because a lot of people haven't been paying their rent because they can't and stuff like that. People haven't been paying their mortgages because they can't, and they got until August to figure out what they're going to do with this.
Yeah, but the problem is that they'll figure it out in August, but it's not like anything's going to be changed. If stuff just keeps going the way it's going, it's not what's going to make August any different than doing it now or doing it in whenever.
Well, then they'll be up to, does the government come back in with more money that, obviously we don't have, or do you tell people you have to leave? You have to leave this place that you can't pay for, and go where at that point? It's fucking spooky times.
Yeah, it is scary. And that's why it's so annoying that people are fucking being so irresponsible and we're going to wind up right back into a lockdown. It's like, can you just do it slow so we can get back to fucking what we were doing?
Right.
It's crazy.
Well, remember even when we were at our worst, and I'm here in the city, so it was pretty weird for a long time with sirens and, there's hospitals all around me. I saw all the shit that was happening. But then you turn on the TV and people like in Florida are like, this is a New York problem. People in Texas are like, this is like, they weren't even bracing themselves that this thing was coming.
Yeah.
Right.
It's almost like if there was a fire in the house and you're like, yeah, but it's in the kitchen. Yeah. I'm here in the bedroom. I'm fucking fine.
Yeah, it really was. And now, that's why. But now you're seeing all the people that escaped. They're all coming back to New York. You know what I mean? Like there's all these people in Florida that are on their way back. And everybody's like, okay, well, I guess since New York's fine and now it's starting to catch wind here, we'll go back to New York. But it's just spreading the other way now.
Yeah, it's insane. We don't have that. You would have thought this would have brought everybody together.
No way.
Instead, we're doing the same shit we've always done. And that's, again, why my generation is the shittiest fucking generation in the history. We have no idea how to lead. We have no idea how to follow, We're fucking insane. We're literally insane.
Hey, New York is doing well, though. June 28th, only 391 new cases. Like, it's been going down and down and down. New York is doing a great job. Is doing great.
Most of those cases are Jeffrey Gurian. He was the first person to get it and get it bad. And when he texted me and said they were taking him to the hospital, I'm like, well, this is the last time I'll hear from this thin man. I could not believe he got up off of it,
Yeah.
It was crazy to me.
I couldn't either, especially because he got it early when it was like, that was a scary word to throw around a few months ago. I saw that. I watched that Jeffrey Gurian short film that you guys posted that somebody did, and the documentary about him. I loved it, man.
Yeah.
I love a story of a guy who just keeps going, no matter what. He's like, this is the life I've chosen. This is my dream. This is everything. And no matter what happens, you just keep going. And he's been doing it for so long. I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, it could be subtitled 40 Years of Unhappiness. And the fact that he blames Dennis Miller for destroying his career.
He does.
Does he really?
All these years,
Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't like to mention him by name. But he did mention him to Mark Maron. You could go look that up if you want. Yeah,
he doesn't like Dennis Miller, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dennis Miller blocked him at SNL, I guess, because he was trying to hook up with the girl that Jeffrey was with. And so because of that move, Jeffrey was never able to accomplish the things that he was meant to.
Wait, Jeffrey was a performer? He was going to be on SNL?
He was going to be a writer.
Well, he was going to do
okay.
he was going to do the films for SNL, and he
Right.
He had it. It was in the bag, and that Dennis Miller cock blocked him. It's so then when I talked to Jeffrey the other day, he called to promote the film. I go, hey, I've got Dennis Miller on the other line. I want you guys to talk this out. And he's like, no, I don't think I can. And then I was like, it was one of those things where you pull a prank and you think it's fun, but then you find out very quickly that it's not to the other person, which is like every prank that is good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And he really thought he was going to have to confront Dennis.
So wait, Jeffrey was dating someone that Dennis liked? Is that what the story is?
It's a hard story to understand. It seemed like a prostitute that he had rented to take to SNL left with Dennis, and then Dennis used this time. I'm sure Dennis could not pick him out of a lineup. I'm sure that if we had a lineup of Jeffrey Gurian, Phil Spector, Animal from the Muppets,
No.
Dennis wouldn't be able to say which one's which.
Yeah, I did get the feeling that maybe there is a chance that it just maybe the gig wasn't as in the bag as he thought it was. Yeah.
Right.
That could have been.
It's my spoon flowers.
Now, where can I see this documentary, Ron? I would love to. I like Jeffrey, so I would love to see this.
Yeah. Where is it that it's one of those streaming services?
How long?
Yeah, you got it's like 18 minutes
17
long,
minutes.
maybe less.
Oh yeah, here it is. Who the fuck is Jeffrey Gurian? Is called, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it. It's a short film. It was good though.
And
who do you think? Who do you think?
That's a question that his mom asked, by the way. Who the fuck is Jeffrey Gurian?
Ron, of the comedians, who do you think has really been shining during quarantine? You know, everybody trying new things and trying different ways to get content out, and you keep an ear to these comedy streets, as they say.
I don't know if the Zoom shows are working for anyone, and I don't know if, I guess Tim Dillon always comes up with somebody. I did a show and someone said, "Oh, you're like an old Tim Dillon." I go, "Oh, that's one way. That's one way to put it, I guess."
That's nice.
And I know he's in that big TBS. I don't know if you guys have seen this big TBS contest that they're doing. He's in that.
Yep.
It's a very strange show. It's a very strange show where you're doing comedy but not in front of an audience.
Yeah, I don't know. We have been watching it very, very closely because we're actually we're heavily invested. The number one seed in the south end of the tournament is Chip Chipperson.
Yep.
Wait, Chip is from the South? I had no idea. He's Alabama born and raised.
He's a good old Southern boy.
Yeah. Well, Chip, I kind of got a bone to pick with him. He invented that card game, Take It to the Club. And Take Me to the Club, yeah.
No,
and I go over the senior center. I work over at the senior center, just helping out a little bit. I get them lunches. I rub their feet. And I thought it'd be fun to play that game show and that card game.
Sure.
And there's a lot of rules. I mean, there's a ridiculous amount of rules in the beginning. And then it just ends so fast that I see the disappointment on their faces.
Well, you get to go to the club, so you're the winner. So the excitement is you're going to the club. That's the excitement of it, is that like once you go to the club, I mean, what else is there? Then who knows?
Right. But I mean, it takes so long to set up. You're just counting, lucky 8. Oh, here's the queen, milady. And then, it's all fun. At that time, it's fun. You're trying to remember the rules. And then a club comes up. And you got to restart the entire game.
You're going to the club. Yeah, that's the exciting part. You don't need the ace for the for the bonus rounds. Weren't necessary, thank God.
Right. What about the card of the warlock?
Yeah,
the card of the warlock, the ace of spades.
That's right.
I mean, Chip has always been a guy who says life and card games it's not a destination. The journey is the destination.
But the journey's not very long if you go to the club right away. And that's happened.
A good point. That's
Playing this with the seniors, like the first thing, okay, for a club, you're going to the club. Let's reshuffle. Let's reshuffle and then take all the time to set it up again. I mean, I haven't invented a game, so I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just saying that there's been a lot of disappointment at the senior center.
Yeah, they probably need to. King of Hearts is another one. Maybe they can learn that one. That's another really fun game you can play with a large group of friends.
Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff coming if it moves forward. Who knows?
Do most of Chip's card games, do they just involve putting cards face down and then you stop when you get the right one?
King of Hearts, which is I've posted that. It's you have to do King of Hearts, King of Hearts, King of Hearts, and you play it with a group of friends until everybody gets the King of Hearts at the same time. So it's round after round after round. Everyone has their own deck of cards. And then you have the final round where everybody does it again.
That sounds a little more fun. I'm going to be honest. That seems like it can keep them busy for a couple of days.
Yeah.
This mathematical freak show of everyone getting the King of Hearts at the same time. So everybody needs their own deck of cards.
Yeah, and you and again, I forget where it's posted. I might have put it on Twitter or Instagram, but where Chip is everyone does King of Hearts, and you separate socially distant. You can all play with your friends, and it's a really, really fun game. You can play for hours.
It sounds fun.
300 or 400 rounds sometimes until everybody has the King of Hearts at the same time. It's very, very exciting. A lot of shuffling. Good times.
Yeah, it sounds like good times. Have you done any of the unmasked or anything like that? Trying to do it over Zoom? I feel like most of your interviews you try to make a pretty personal connection that wouldn't exactly be optimal when you're talking to a stranger on a webcam.
The short answer is we've done a couple of things. I did something for the National Comedy Center, which, by the way, loves you, Jim. If you ever want to go
thank you. Yeah, I did something for Carlin for them. When we talked about Carlin. Right. It was great.
I did a thing with George Lopez for them. We're going to run it Wednesday. I did something with Sandra Bernhardt. And then I'm going to replay the Carl Reiner thing that I did right before COVID. I was out in L.A. and was invited to his house, and we sat down and hung out for an hour. So I'm going to replay that. But what an unbelievable career he had. I mean, nobody's going to have a career like that again.
Yeah, incredible. And I
98.
mean,
yeah.
How was he when you talked to him? I mean, we were talking to somebody yesterday who was talking about how Gilbert Gottfried was saying that, like, pretty recently he had him on his podcast and he was super sharp and still funny and
100%. He was really, really funny. He remembered details to such great old stories, all the old stories that you want to know. He still was writing books and jokes, and he was trolling on Twitter, and he was, Carl Reiner, and Mel Brooks was going over and having dinner with him all the time. They would hang out. They were still very, very much involved in everything that was going on. The last picture that I saw with those guys, they were wearing Black Lives Matter T-shirts sitting there in their 90s. It was adorable. But yeah, and it was so sweet to be invited into his house and to have the chance to go through a bunch of his memories, because all the stories are just amazing, just amazing.
What year did they do the 2,000-year-old man? What year was that?
That was in the early 60s that they started it, and it just started as a party bit. And it was, I think they ended up doing 5 or 6 albums, and they're still like the best albums in history. They never had any idea. Carl would play the straight man, Mel would come in. But Carl told me that every single time that they were heading to do a big auditorium show, Mel Brooks would be like, this is not going to work. This shit's crazy. This is the dumbest thing I could do, is to go there. And then they would go and just burn the fucking place down. But he always had that backstage, oh no, this is dumb, which is great to know. You know what I mean? It's great to know that no matter how good you get at that, you're still like, oh shit, you know, I'm jumping out of an airplane. This is fucking ridiculous. This is dumb.
Yeah.
And how long is this? I mean, I don't think I've ever heard it from beginning to end.
Well, I mean, they would just riff. They had no idea where they were going. And, you know, the albums would just be, but they would just be little things where he would bring up a topic and this old Jewish man would be act like, yes, that's exactly the way it went. You know what I mean? It just went on and on. And Mel Brooks is just, he's fucking crazy funny. You know, he's scary funny. Like, I can't breathe funny. But then even the other thing with Carl is he was telling me this story about how his son had brought a kid home from school and the kid started to improv this bit. And like he was an escape artist that couldn't escape. And he was banging on the floor and rolling around in the curtains. And Carl said, it's the funniest thing. And that was Albert Brooks, right? And then Carl went on the Carson show and said, I just met the funniest person in the whole world, this high school kid that goes. And all kinds of people have stories like that he could just spot people. Billy Crystal told me a very similar story with him that, you know, Carl was onto his career very, very young. You know, he's the one who found Dick Van Dyke. He found Mary Tyler Moore. He just loved funny people and loved being around them. And
he had the eye for it. Wow, Albert Brooks when he was a teenager. That's
it's unbelievable,
amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, you know, the kid is Rob Reiner, who turned into a big sitcom star and you know, one of the biggest directors of the last 30, 40 years. So it's a crazy story all the way around.
Isn't it funny that Albert Brooks is now, I'm sorry, Albert Brooks is 72. Like you're thinking of it as a high school kid. And when did it, this must have been the early 70s when he went on, or it was late 60s, early 70s?
Yeah, it was probably late 60s, early 70s. And if you ever go and look up those Albert Brooks things, when he would come out and do a character, some kind of early version of Chip Chipperson, really, you know, that he would decide this is a nutty character. And he would do the Carson show. But he had never worked out this material. He just worked it out in his head and then would go and do the Tonight Show back when 30 million people were watching the Tonight Show, or he'd do the Sullivan Show and just try it for the first time and fucking destroy with it.
This is Albert.
Yeah, Albert. Yeah. It's just unbelievable talent. Crazy talent.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Speaking of talent, you got some talented. I was going to say you got some talented people around you. I've been keeping up with Chris Stanley, he's become a bread maker. Mm-hmm. Is he still making bread? Because I feel like with this quarantine thing, we all started developing like hobbies and okay, this is what I'm going to do, and then within like 4 to 6 weeks, everybody kind of was like, no, I'm not going to do this forever. Like, come on.
I'm going to give you an exclusive right now, Sam.
Great.
This is a Boogaloo exclusive. This, I believe, is Friday. It's garlic nuts. So, you know, stay.
Whoa, on the Bread Bros?
Yeah, on the Bread Bros, they're making garlic nuts. Now, at the same time, I get a call the other day out of the blue, and it's somebody who wants to be a producer for the show. And I go, well, I have Chris Stanley. And he said, well, your producer needs a producer. So I'm in negotiations with Keith the Cop right now.
Oh,
it's an exciting time. Ready to take some of this shit next level, you know?
Yeah, everything's happening.
I told him, I go, first of all, if this would have happened 4 months ago, yes, of course. But it's July 1st. Everyone hates the cops right now. I got to be very, very careful with this whole defund the cops thing.
Mm-hmm.
I can't.
Yeah.
I mean,
bringing Keith the Cop on. Yeah, but bringing him on right now is a very all lives matter type of thing to do, and you don't want to. You know, you can't position yourself.
I mean, suppose he kneels on a listener's neck. You know what I mean? Like, I can't be on the wrong side of history. You know?
Can't be responsible for that.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm not doing the I Can't Breathe show.
Right.
It should
People
be
will
Keith
judge
the something. Call him Keith the something else, not Keith the cop.
Right.
Keith the something. Keith the civil servant. Keith the employed, or Keith the former, something like that. But don't call him Keith the cop.
That's a great idea. I never even thought of that, Jimmy. That's where you get the big money. So if we go with Keith the woke transgender, suddenly,
Awesome. And then I'll hire him.
Sam, Sam, no one understands changing your gimmick as fast as you do. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that quickly, it will be accepted.
Do you understand? If you called him, hey, our new producer, Keith the woke transgender, is out. He's in Times Square. He's pushing over statues. And it's like,
Right.
it's knock down statue Wednesdays or whatever. And people, I mean, this will be literally any 20-year-old pair of ears within 100 miles will be locked on.
Sure.
That's what I want. I want the Zoomers. I got to get the Zoomers in there. My audience is aging fast.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they're from the worst generation. I don't need them anymore. I need Zoomers and plenty of them. I remember one time when we were in Florida doing the Ron and Ron show, and we had a gimmick where Fez just said, Fez is a stupid name. I'm going to be going for my real name, Timmy. I'm Timmy from now on, right? So my partner was like yelling at him, I'm not calling you Timmy, that's stupid. And Randy Savage came on, and he'd been driving in, listened to it. He's like, great to see you guys. Timmy, making it happen, right? And he just jumped into it. And I'm like, that's how fast you guys switch gimmicks. That everybody buys it at the same time, and it's fine. He's Timmy. There is no past.
Right. We don't talk about the past at all. We just move forward. That's it. That's it.
I am being told that there's a thing of Keith the cop attacking a statue on the Bennington Instagram right now.
Good. Good. You mean Keith the woke transgender?
Keith the woke transgender. Never been a cop. Specifically not a narc. Yeah.
KTWT.
Right.
Just so it rolls off the tongue a little bit easier.
Yeah, KTWT, yeah.
KTWT, yeah, KTWT.
Yeah.
On the Bennington. Hey, it's KTWT for Bennington.
For everybody.
Yeah. Way easier. Way easier.
Yeah.
Plus, then if you know, it gives you a sense of community.
Exactly right. By the way, we're not getting rid of Chris Stanley. He's still going to be the bread bro. He'll just be answering to a woke transgender. You know?
I think that's important. I saw you had a.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I saw. Speaking of Fez, I saw him make an appearance on the Bennington IG for Pride Day with the Pride mask on and everything.
Yeah.
How has he been doing throughout this whole thing down in Florida?
Well, he's a beard farmer, so that's helpful. I mean, his entire beard looks like it's filled with the coronavirus, doesn't it? It looks like the worst idea. But obviously, this is going to shock you. Fez is petrified. He
No.
is pretty sure he has it. I've gotten some late night calls that he just coughed or feels like he has a fever. So he's not leaving the house at all. But he is a worrier. I'm not going to lie to you guys. He's a little bit of a worrier. And I swear to God, this is a true story. I'm not making this up. I have an email from him that I was asked to save to hand over to Dateline if and when Fez is murdered. There is a person that he believes is someone in his neighborhood who's going to kill him. And Fez has, and try to get away with it. And I am to hand that over to Dateline after his murder.
Dateline.
Did he give a reason as to why?
There are so many reasons. Every paragraph. I'm going to be totally honest. I didn't even have the time to finish this. It went on for so long. It was like a small book. But times that he's felt threatened or whatever by this person who, I don't know, everybody else knows and no one else is thinking that they could be a serial killer. But this is going to be one of the great Datelines of all time. when we finally, Fez Whatley cracks the case from the grave.
Now,
of the
is this
Fez
guy
killer.
homophobic?
No,
He's not a homophobic.
just just hates Fez for general purposes.
I see.
Just hates him the way we all do. Not, just I can't keep hearing about these things. I don't know what gout is. Why don't you call your doctor? I can't go through. I don't think you have COVID. I'm going to be honest with you right now. I don't think you have it.
Yeah, and it doesn't stick around for 3 months. You couldn't have had it the whole time.
It felt like he's had it the entire time. Nothing he could do about it.
I thought I was disappointed. I thought I was going to get to see him because WrestleMania was supposed to be in Tampa in April. And I had my bags packed probably up until a week before. I was sure. I was like, you know what? All these other stadiums can shut down. All these other auditoriums can shut down. It's not going to happen. We're still going to get WrestleMania. And we don't get to. I don't get to have my Fez interaction. I don't get to go to the stadium.
Right.
Nothing.
I know that he had tickets to the Diesel show that he has not been refunded. I guess there was going to be, there was a bar nearby. Mm-hmm. And Diesel was putting on something one night. I don't know, but if you can get that, I think it's $37.50.
It is utterly shocking that there's not a refund policy for Diesel's bar cake. I can't believe that in the wrestling industry somebody would try to carny Fez out of $37 to meet Diesel at a bar.
Man, did your childhood dreams come true, though, huh, Sam?
Yeah, they really did. They really did.
I don't know anyone else who, when they were 11, had a dream and were able to see it through. It's pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah, especially because, I don't think that anybody had me pegged as the guy to do it either. Like, I don't think anybody was going like, oh, yeah, he's going to be a
dream maker. Sure. No. People did not look at you and think that's the man who's going to make dreams come true.
No, they did not. They did not. No. They did not think I would achieve on this level. I'm an overachiever.
Yeah.
Here's the only thing I feel like you should be doing. Mm-hmm. You got to manage. You got to at least get a tag team and take them to the title. And, you're smart enough. I've seen you after you have a good idea. You'll point at your brain, like you'll look at the audience who doesn't necessarily agree with you and point at your head to say how smart you are.
Right. Yeah, no, and that is true. And that is the universal signs that even if the audience doesn't understand that this is a smart idea, they'll go, and then you go, oh, I guess it was. I guess that's what he used, his brain.
Well, who used to do that? The first person who did that was Einstein. He used to come up with like the theory of relativity. Right there, I did it. Sam, who's the greatest all-time manager?
I mean, it's tough not to say the Brain is the greatest all-time manager. It seems like a really easy answer.
Yeah,
better than Lou Albano.
Yeah, I would say so. Lou Albano had his moment, but because Bobby Heenan could do literally anything. First of all, he's just a great comedic performer. He just happened to be in wrestling. But the fact that he could be a manager or a commentator, he could bump, he could do whatever it took. And he got guys over.
What about classy Freddie Blassie? I think you're overlooking classy Freddie Blassie.
Yeah. I would never want to do that. He's very, very, very important to the history of managers is classy Freddie Blassie, but he doesn't have, Bobby Heenan also spanned, a couple of decades.
Who else was the other one? Who was the other one? He had like a turban. Wasn't there a manager? With
the Grand Wizard?
The Grand Wizard.
I'm going to give you one from the early days. Yeah. The Grand Wizard had a lot of champions. Very scary hat that he wore. It was kind of a turban, kind of tight Devo sunglasses. Spit the entire time. He'd be terrible during his COVID days. The spitting took place.
I don't remember who he had, though. Like, who was Sergeant Slaughter's manager?
During the Gulf War era, he came to the ring with General Adnan just because he looked like Saddam Hussein. but I don't remember Sergeant Slaughter having a manager before that. You see, that's the problem with the Grand Wizard. Like Bobby Heenan, you remember who he managed. because the
Right.
manager's job is to get the talent over. When you remember the manager, but you don't remember the wrestler, the manager's done a bad job.
Yeah, it's true. Had you ever met Heenan before, Sam?
I met him once. It was after he had his jaw, because he had jaw
Oh,
cancer,
yeah.
so
Wow,
he had the
terrible.
jaw taken off.
Bobby Heenan did?
Yeah.
Bobby Heenan, yeah. Before he died, he had his lower jaw taken off.
Was he a smoker?
I don't know. I mean, I would
No,
imagine he
no.
must have been, but no.
No, not when I knew him. No.
Maybe
I
he
never
did
saw him
dip.
ever
I don't
smoke
know.
in my life. Yeah.
A lot of those guys dip. But I met him once at a signing, and I got him to sign a steel chair. And he said he had me lean in to him because he could barely talk. And he said that people ask me if I've ever been hit in the head if I've ever been hit with a steel chair before, and I tell him I've been hit in the head so many times it smells like ass up there. It's like, that's awesome.
Brilliant line.
Yeah.
He did
So,
the
yeah.
funniest thing I ever saw. I think he when he was leaving the WWE and he was going to go to the WCW, and there was some kind of loser leaves town thing that he actually, when he was leaving, he had a suitcase that he had picked up and was walking out of the place carrying his suitcase with his head down. That's how
Yeah.
much he left them over. You know what I mean? Like how he
Yep.
knew how to, make the greater good happen. And he was just a genius when it came to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, genius. He completely left on his ass. Like he left with everybody else looking stronger. Except, I mean, no matter what he did, you know who replaced him on commentary when he left?
No, I don't remember.
Rob Bartlett.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it did not work out for Rob.
Was
Bartlett.
he as
just-
popular?
Rob Bartlett is universally revered. He lasted 13 weeks. And he is kind of universal. Most people don't even remember him, but like the nerd wrestling fans that know everything, he is looked at as the worst commentator in the history of Monday Night Raw. Yeah, the worst they've ever
Why
had.
was he bad? Now, what was so bad about him?
Well, because Vince I guess he was on one of his kicks where he wants outsiders in. Like, he probably heard him on the Imus show, and he knows, Rob's a funny comic, and he's like, no, I want you to be funny, I want you to be a comedian, and I want you to give the outsider's perspective, so the non-wrestling fan who watches can go like, oh yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Right.
But that never worked. You can't have a guy in the booth who doesn't know what he's talking about.
Right.
So he's just, watching, making fat Oriental jokes about Yokozuna, and everybody's going like, "What are you doing, man? What are you doing?"
They didn't enjoy them?
No, not crazy about him.
No. And it was all kind of condescending. I mean, Bartlett, he put his heart into it, and he did everything he could have done, but it just wasn't. He was out of his element. It wasn't his world.
And what year was that, Sam? That's in the in the 90s?
90s.
93.
Oh, that's
93.
a long time. Okay.
Yeah, 93.
I'll tell you this, Bobby, Heenan story. So remember when the WCW was at its peak and they were, they had brought Hulk over and they were literally beating the WWE. I took my kids to the show and, Bobby took his backstage and everything. And then he takes me aside. And this is when they're on top of the world. And he goes, this place is fucked. He goes, we are not going to make this happen. And I'm like, why? What are you talking about? He goes, they're not doing anything. He goes, Vince is a genius, and he's going to roll out of this, and there's no money coming in here. He goes, we don't do house shows. We're not doing anything. This is all going to fall over like a deck of cards. And I thought he was crazy at the time, and he was 100% right.
How long did it take?
Yeah.
A couple years.
Couple years, yeah. But it really was. I mean, he's 100% right. It was one of the Vince was getting beaten badly, and WCW was hot. It was a hot property.
They had everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Vince started developing new stars, and WCW just kind of completely. It fell apart like a deck of cards. Like one thing kind of started to crumble, and then nothing recovered.
Yeah, it was interesting to see. It really was. That was like the last kind of thing where like that kind of competition made you jump back and forth between the two stations, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and they embraced the competition. Like it was a war. It was a real life or death, like let's fuck this other guy competition. Which I like.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes me interested.
2001 it went out of business? Wow.
WCW? Yeah. Vince ended up buying them for like pennies on the dollar.
Did he fire anybody? Did Vince fire people or no?
Yeah.
Did he fire people who had left? Like people who had left wrestling, went to WCW. Did he fire them when he rebought it back?
No, I mean, Vince is, he's not vindictive if there's money to be made. Like he'll always put business in front of that other stuff. So generally he ends up hiring almost everybody back. But a lot of people had like guaranteed contracts through Turner because Turner owned the company. So, you know, there were people who were making 7 figures and Vince is like, well, I'm not buying those contracts. Right. And they were like, well, and Vince said, you can come work for me, but I'm not going to pay you that much money. And they said, well, no, we'll just sit home. And he said, all right, sit home. So they just collect a lot of the big names just ended up collecting their money that way. But,
they did get paid though.
Yep. Because it was a Turner contract. It wasn't Turner had to pay him. But they all, you know, eventually those contracts expired and they ended up coming in for a year here, a year there, whatever it was.
I mean, you got to think like a businessman.
That's good. That's really good because it ties in business. And then that hip street language, man.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
That's exactly right. Well, we got to take a break.
Yep.
Ron Bennington, it's always good talking to you, man.
Always
Bennington's
good.
on 2 p.m. Eastern, right here on this channel every single day. And it's just, it's the greatest show. So check it out. And also, don't forget to follow Bennington Show on Instagram. And you can see what Ron Bennington is looking like these days, man, because this dude is a snack. This dude, I mean, you want pure sex appeal. You know, I've known this guy for a long time, and he has never had me feeling the things that I'm feeling looking at this guy. And I just mean being proud of him, that's all.
I'll see you at HR because I don't put up with this anymore.
You got to take a compliment.
I don't put up with this. Jim, pleasure as always.
Good seeing you, Ron.
Sam,
and I'm sorry for what transpired. Yeah.
Thank you. I felt a little bit safer having you here because I don't want to be alone with him.
Yeah, everyone thinks that I'm the deviant, but Sam Sam is really big on servicing with his mouth. That's a big hobby.
Yeah.
Such a leap.
Providing mouth service.
It's true. It's true. And when he asked me to be in a 3-way with him and his wife, and then he tells her to take a walk, I'm like, no, that's not why I came here.
Yeah. But, you know, she's at the store. She'll be back. Yeah, he got me the same way.
Be cool, man. Just be cool, all right?
You know what? I'm leaving. I got to protect myself.
All right. See you, Ron.
See you later, Ron Bennington.